I see folks are starting to arrive. Welcome to Public Good App House. If you want to share in the chat where you're dialing in from, it'd be great to hear from folks. I'm in San Francisco, where we just had our Pride weekend. I know New York also had their Pride weekend, just now, their parade and big events this weekend. Welcome, folks, to Public Good App House. And today we're going to be talking about apps for the LGBTQ plus communities. Welcome, Sama in Buffalo. Happy Pride. Happy Pride to everybody. Hi, Deirdre from South Africa. It's a little late in the day. Thank you for joining us in the evening. Hello, Better Tomorrow, Colorado. Happy Pride. Great. And of course, we all want to celebrate Pride all year round, but June in particular. Hey, Stephen. Good to see you. Is it really sunny in San Diego? Right now in San Francisco, it's not so much. Yes, perfect weather. Great. Yeah, so let's see if I can join you there soon. Great, and people still arriving, welcome to Public Good App House. If folks who've just come on, if you want to pop into the chat where you're dialing in from and introduce yourself. Welcome to our session today on apps for LGBTQ communities. Great, and Andrew, I don't know if you see Joe has a question for you. Great, welcome folks. Let's give folks maybe just one more minute to join. And while we're waiting, if folks want to pop into the chat where they're dialing in from, maybe if they're with an organization, what organization they're with. Welcome to our Pride event, which is part of our series of Public Good App House. And today we're talking about apps, of course, from the LGBTQ plus community. So excited to talk about these 4 different apps. Well, welcome, Susan. Good to see you in San Francisco. It's a little gray here, isn't it? But we're managing. And, let's go ahead and, happy Pride, Don Juan from Austin, Texas. Good to see you. And we're at 10:02, so let's go ahead and get started. So welcome, everybody. In this demonstration style event, 4 organizations will share their tech for good apps for LGBTQ plus communities, and we'll introduce them in a moment. Public Good App House events like this are an initiative of TechSoup's Caravan Studios. Caravan Studios works closely with nonprofits, communities, and local organizations, such as libraries, to design technology solutions to help nonprofits address some of their most pressing problems. So first, let's talk about how you can engage in today's event. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A feature. So you can see that highlighted in red down at the bottom of the slide. If you click there, you can ask questions there. Don't forget to check your inbox after the event. So we're going to send out an email with the replay, slides, and resource links within a couple days. And if you learn something good, you can tweet us at TechSoup with hashtag Public Good App House. That's hashtag Public Good App House. Of course, no spaces, as hashtags have. And also a reminder that closed captioning is available. So turn on the CC button located in your Zoom menu. Now, before we get into today's content, I want to welcome you to the TechSoup Global Network, especially for those of you who are new here. At TechSoup, we believe that technology like smartphones, internet connectivity, training, and more have the power to serve our communities better. And today's speakers with their Tech for Good app demos will give you a good taste of what this looks like in action. My name is Aaron Ford, and I'm Learning and Development Manager here at TechSoup. And I'm also an organizer of Alphabet Soup, which is TechSoup's LGBTQ+ affinity group. Founded in 2020, Alphabet Soup supports inclusion and diversity of sexuality and gender within TechSoup and our greater community. And we also spotlight intersectionality with other identities and creating alliances. Alphabet Soup is mostly an internal group focusing on events for our staff, but occasionally we get to collaborate with other teams, and I'm grateful to the community team for inviting me to host this awesome session. So in today's presentation, we have Jonathan McKay, Executive Director of SameSame. We have Kate Tamra, founder of Euphoria. We have Jessica Hubley, CEO of StoryLLP, and Abby Davis, International Resource Coordinator and Translation for InReach. And let's thank them for being here with us today. One more reminder that we will be sharing the replay from today's event, slides and links shared in an email within a couple days. Plus, an important note that today's event is as good as the engagement we get from all of you. So tune in and engage. Ask a question, share your responses in chat, ask questions in the Q&A section, and tweet at us with using Public Good App House, hashtag Public Good App House. We will make sure to take time at the end of our panelists' demos to answer your questions. So first up, let's welcome Jonathan McKay, Executive Director, SameSame. Jonathan McKay, known to friends as Jono, is a designer and social entrepreneur working at the intersection of digital technologies and social change. With more than 20 years of experience working across both the private and public sectors, he brings his background in marketing, content creation, and user experience design to bear on a diverse range of development challenges, with a particular focus on the LGBTQI+ community. Jono will share the story behind the development of a WhatsApp chatbot that provides young LGBTQI+ people in South Africa with access to an identity-affirming, evidence-based cognitive behavioral therapy course. Take it away, Jono.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on. Okay, that seems to be working. Grand. Thanks to everyone at TechSoup for the invitation and to everyone here for your attention. I'm also here with my co-founder, Dina Patrice, who will be handling the Q&A. Before we get going, we have a video to play.
I've been in South Africa for 5 years now, born and raised in Uganda. I first realized that I was different from other boys when I was in high school, but I would always run away from it. It kept on building. I didn't know how to speak about certain things. In fear, if I say this, I am going to be beaten. In Uganda, there isn't so many places that you can go to for queer therapy. I joined SameSame a few weeks after I had come out to my family. It made me feel so confident in who I am, not just about my sexuality. I really feel like SameSame is a friend. The Parliament of Uganda decided to pass the death penalty, which has led to a lot of fear. My hope for the future is to be able to be a voice for those who can speak out for themselves, to show people different shades of love, that it's possible.
Dina and I co-founded SameSame because we believe that every young person deserves a chance to reach their potential, no matter who they are, no matter where they live, no matter who they love. To help them do just that, the team at SameSame have created a WhatsApp chatbot that provides LGBTQI+ young people with access to private and safe, identity-affirming, and critically, locally relevant mental health support in the palm of their hands whenever they need it. Being a teenager is difficult for everyone, but it is especially challenging for those of us who are queer. In South Africa, where I'm from, queer youth suffer from depression at 4 times the rate of their peers. When I was growing up in South Africa, struggling with my sexuality, I knew exactly where the one gay bookstore was, where the one LGBT-friendly clinic was. But like most young people, fear of stigma and discrimination, and even the threat of violence kept me from accessing the services that I needed. Now, there are a host of new digital mental health services that are providing a model for the way that we can reach young people where they are. But none of these services cater to the specific needs of young people living in places where it's not just difficult to be different, sometimes it is even illegal. At SameSame, we know that context matters. That's why we're using WhatsApp, because it's already on everyone's phone. So it's accessible in places where people don't have access to the latest devices. It's end-to-end encrypted, which means that it's safer, and it's light on data, which makes it affordable for young people to access in places where data charges still present a significant obstacle to people accessing online support, even when our services are free. At the core of our chatbot is an adaptation of an 8-session identity-affirming cognitive behavioral therapy course that has been proven to boost the mental well-being of LGBTQI+ young people in multiple randomized controlled trials. Wrapped around this course, we've got stories from users like King, who you saw in the video, stories that help young people feel seen and connected, and that lead them to essential information about gender and sexuality that is locally relevant. Information that, when they are ready, takes them to links, to offline resources and on-the-ground service providers who can support them on the next stage of their journey. Young people discover us through social media campaigns, through youth ambassadors, and through partnerships with on-the-ground organizations. We've been live in South Africa for just a few months, and the young people there are meeting a bot. They're not meeting a team, they're meeting a bot that's been built by a team of queer clinicians, software engineers, and product designers who have come together to build what we wish we had when we were growing up. And thanks to our efforts so far, over 1,000 young people over the last 3 months in South Africa have started conversations with our bot, conversations that have the potential to be life-changing. We have funding and support for our work in South Africa and in Zimbabwe, but we have big ambitions to make our service available everywhere that young people experience fear and discrimination because of who they are. And that might include Angola, Kenya, Nigeria. Eventually, we want to be everywhere that young people need us, so that we realize, yes, we might all be a little bit different, but ultimately, we are all the same. I've got a slide here with a QR code that you can use to interact with our chatbot prototype in South Africa. In South Africa, we're called Fana Fana, which is a direct translation of SameSame. That's the best way for you to see what we're actually building for young people. It's mostly English with some Zulu, but you should be able to still understand everything that's going on. And I'll just pause here a little bit to give you a chance to get hold of the QR code. Great. Thank you so much for your time and attention, everyone.
Thank you, Jono. And in the chat, quite a few people mentioned how moving the video you shared was. Really, really cool to see everything that your app is doing, and some really great appreciation for the work that you're doing. So now let's welcome Kate Tamra, who's the founder of Euphoria. And Kate was named one of America's greatest disruptors by Newsweek, was an inaugural member of the AWS Impact Accelerator for Women Founders, a Halcyon Fellow, a Rock Health Fellow, and a Cedars-Sinai Accelerator Cohort 15 participant. She's a former TED Talk speaker and was recognized as one of Puget Sound Business Journal's Outstanding Voices, one of Go Magazine's 100 Women We Love, an inaugural Stylist Changemaker, and the Crowdbotics Social Impact Award winner. And Kate is a proud woman who happens to be intersex. Bliss is a bank for the most vulnerable souls. And in this presentation, Kate will preview the latest build of Bliss, Bliss 4.0, which expands our focus from trans and intersex souls to include survivors and victims of domestic violence. And take it away, Kate.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for the warm introduction and for everyone attending here. Yep, my name is Kate. I am intersex, and for the next 5 minutes, you can settle into my charcoal, beautiful charcoal voice. So as mentioned, Bliss is a bank, and we're really excited to show y'all the kind of preview of Bliss 4. It's a total reinvention of our thinking. And so without further ado, we're going to do a live demo. And don't worry, nothing ever goes wrong with the live demo. So I'm sure it's going to go great. So on the left side of the screen, you can see this is running on my phone. What I'm going to do is walk y'all through our onboarding process, or at least part of it, just to kind of share the ethos. And so, banking is a really complicated and regulated space. And so we had to work incredibly hard to create something that wasn't just profoundly secure and actionable, but also ensures the dignity of our customers. So you can see when we start asking for information from the customer, we're being very, very clear where their data will appear and where it will see. To borrow from SameSame, that fear and that need for privacy, especially for intersex and trans souls right now, is unfortunately deeply needed. It also explains why the majority of our 100,000 users come from the rural. It's extraordinary to open a bank account in a city of only 100 people, and we're proud to just be starting this work. And so you can see we've got this, let's see, what day is it? 26, this beautiful kind of onboarding process. The way we think about these background videos is that it's kind of a positive form of dissociation, in the sense that, these are windows for folk to look out from, as they're navigating their current hell and trying to, find that next life. So we're going to see if we can get that code to come on time for us. So yep, there we go. Less than 5 minutes. Pretty pleased with that. All right. And so we're just going to continue to proceed forward. We ask for the user's pronouns. So we've kind of got the big threes, and that we've also got, the rolling pronouns, which are certainly kind of a beautiful way of expression that we wanted to capture. And then we're working on the support for custom pronouns. We ask these to filter in order to better filter the context of the app. And then we also allow folks to gain honorifics, which are used in customer support practices. I have to admit, being a 6 foot tall, intersex woman, it's really fun to hear Miss for the first time. Here you can see our focus groups. So within Bliss, there's a tremendous amount of content that helps people approximate the most pressing and financial goals of their life, as well as understanding kind of the actionable steps they need to take. So for some, that may look like what it's like to take flight, which is an expensive and arduous process. Whereas for others, it could be, starting hormone affirming therapy, or it could be, even something as changing one's name, which is dually applicable to both cohorts. And so we see, as we continue to move forward, Bliss is continuing to take a nurturing tone, providing a lot of compassion to the user and starting to pre-suggest some of the goals that they may want to pursue. Here's a body goal, here's a mind goal, and then a soul goal to nurture you after you've kind of been through it. And then we have an amazing banking as a service partner that allows us to have these beautiful, beautiful Visa cards with any name on them, as well as getting cash back and earning about 5% annually through our innovative treasury bill investing strategy. And so we're just going to configure a PIN here real quick. These are test accounts, so there's no money to steal, but you're welcome to try. My security is good enough that you can't get it done anyways. I got the incorrect code. That's because that is the wrong sign-in name. Great work, Kate. Okay, closing in on 30 seconds. But what's really important is that, I just kind of want to show you, this one final screen because I think it's really beautiful. I think it encapsulates exactly what we're going for from a UX perspective and the serenity we're trying to grant our customers with that. So here we're going to try to query, text code. We've got a lot of terms and conditions. And I think with time, you can see these beautiful screens that offer people a world beyond their own challenges. So please check us out at bliss.lgbt. My name's Kate. I'm easy to find. Thanks y'all for taking the time. And yeah, I look forward to hearing the rest of you too.
So cool, Kate. Thank you so much for that walkthrough. That was really neat to see. Next up, we have Jessica Hubley, who will talk a little about StoryLLP. Jessica is the founder and CEO of StoryLLP, which makes software to translate legalese and serve as anyone's lawyer friend. StoryLLP uses inclusive user design alongside a proprietary legal issue taxonomy to help clients understand how to choose and use lawyers efficiently, take the right action at the right time to optimize their legal position, and to connect and manage an alliance of rockstar female and minority specialist attorneys to ensure a great ROI on legal spending. And Jessica was previously founder and CEO of the nonprofit Annie Cannons, which transforms survivors of human trafficking and gender-based violence into software engineers. And Jessica will demonstrate how StoryLLP helps all humans translate legalese and get their legal rights from the start. Take it away, Jessica.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to share my screen. So again, my name is Jessica Hubley. I spent the last 15 years or so as the primary lawyer to hundreds of startups and also as a serial entrepreneur. And as you hear, I also ran a nonprofit. And through that time, I learned a key lesson. The kind of founders who are not lucky enough to have lawyer friends who are helping them translate legalese for free are facing way higher costs in money and time. And that includes pro bono, as well as much more pain to get their organization off the ground. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether the most talented founders I know or not. The lack of lawyer friends is coming from the same kind of systemic barriers that make it harder for founders to raise funding, get equal opportunity, or get equal respect. And this part probably doesn't surprise you, but it might surprise you to hear that historically underrepresented lawyers are facing a strikingly similar problem. So I founded StoryLLP to help underestimated lawyers and clients cooperate to get more of what they deserve. Today, our cooperative comprises over almost 600 lawyers at 34 law firms, as well as hundreds of clients, our organization, and our fiscal sponsor. So to quickly frame, today, of the people in this world who could use a lawyer's help for themselves or their business, only about 30% are even trying to reach out to a lawyer. And as a result, really preventable mistakes cost even successful organizations very dearly. Can be millions in legal fees for a for-profit if you're exiting, not to mention sort of lowering your purchase price. For a nonprofit, this is staff time and headache and sort of precious funder dollars that it can't be used to do good. So the platform we created is targeted to help all founders, no matter what kind of organization you found or what your story is, to get your legal right from the start by serving as a friendly legalese translator and a general counsel, even if you don't know what that means yet. And we do that through 3 types of services. So first, we have a free web app, which here's a plain language story, can submit through an email form and calculates the kind of legal service you might need, the kind of costs you might expect, and surfaces some affordable alternatives for you. You can opt into more from there. Second, we offer standard services that are designed to be super high quality, but also super affordable, including things like document forms and an automatic general counsel subscription service, which sets organizations up to get legal right from the start more affordably, and prevents the most common kinds of IP, employment, and governance problems that inexperienced founders might make. Third, when our clients need custom help from an actual human lawyer, we are connecting a great lawyer from our attorney alliance and sharing in their fees. So clients today are paying significant invoices to these lawyers, but only at the point where they actually benefit from getting a human lawyer's help. This actually relates to a huge market opportunity. Most people look at the legal services market and think it's as big as it's going to get because it's serving all the people who have money to pay, and that's not true. A lot of the people in my life and my time at Annie Cannon's who had an opportunity to be incredibly productive members of our society, who had huge value to add, didn't have jobs because they hadn't had opportunities. So Story is about helping to make opportunities, including opportunities to start companies, happen so that we can make a bigger and more equitable legal services market. As the team said, I started off my entrepreneurship journey at a nonprofit organization. So I know that actually the kind of challenges that I faced at my nonprofit and the kind of challenges that I'm facing at Story as a for-profit founder, and that those of you who are out there finding different kinds of social enterprises also face, are actually almost all the same. So the kind of solution that we've developed to help for-profit companies works just as well for nonprofits, and that's what we're out to do more of. So the first thing to know is there are about 1.5 million nonprofits in the United States. The software that we will launch in about a month will be able to help all of them find things like employment classification issues in the people that they hire, show them litigation risks, because nonprofits can be sued just like for-profit companies, particularly for employment claims. What we want to do is actually offer our subscription service with a TOMS model, where if you buy a subscription for your for-profit company, you get to choose a nonprofit, and we'll give a subscription to them too. So we're definitely open to hearing more about more from folks if people are looking for sort of overarching legal help for a nonprofit. And as a nonprofit founder, I know that I often had big law firms that were super fancy offer to do pro bono work for me. And I also would often have do a ton of work to prepare a project outline, have an introductory call, hear that we are moving forward, be promised an engagement letter and a conflict check, and then never hear from that law firm again. So we understand that if you do have to pay for a lawyer, you might have to pay for a lawyer to get them to work timely. And that's why we built this alliance of super affordable specialists, many of which will discount their rates for nonprofits, but also work on a timely model. In the future, the AI model that we're building to power all of this general counsel service, actually, remember, is meant to help people figure out what lawyer they need and what their context is for free in the end. And that includes over 40 million people living in poverty in the US, including survivors of trafficking and of gender-based violence. But it also includes the same function for legal aid and pro bono attorneys who do this full-time every day, who are specialists and experts in nonprofit needs, to make sure that they can spend less time screening out the clients they can't help, and more time actually providing legal services, because those lawyers are incredibly precious in this world and exceedingly rare. So what Story wants to use, the same system that we use to screen managed clients for our attorney allies, can be used to manage and screen clients for legal aid too. They get therefore 20 to 30% of their budget back because they have to spend $0 on screening clients that they can't help, and on experiencing traumatic stories, both from the client reaching out and the person listening to the story. We can cut that out of the whole game. So this is our sort of nonprofit initiative. This is what we established our fiscal sponsorship to power. If you want to get involved in what we do, we would adore that. There are a few different ways we can do that. We are open to equity investment to hire the kind of engineers who have lived experience like that of our clients and of our target demographic, meaning they need a salary to work. So we're looking at hiring more people at solid market salaries from diverse backgrounds to join our engineering team. We also are happy to help your for-profit, your social enterprise, or your nonprofit organization as a client. If you are a nonprofit organization or a historically underrepresented founder, we have an option for fiscal sponsorship to have somebody actually donate funds tax deductibly to help you. And I hope that if you have other ideas about how we might work together, or if you run a legal aid pro bono organization, please reach out to me. I would love to be connected and help out. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Really incredible, incredible work and incredible, really a cause. I did note that a few folks have joined us since we made our beginning announcement. So I do want to say, if folks would like to ask a question, the Q&A spot is a great place to go for there. And we will be sending out, of course, this deck and video and links and resources a couple days after the event. And now I'm excited to welcome Abby Davies, who's International Resource Coordinator and Translation for InReach. Abby is the internal resource coordinator and translation head at InReach. With a background in international development and asylum refugee rights work, Abby has been at InReach since 2019, helping to add new organizations to the app across the US, Canada, Mexico, and US territories. She, along with others on the team, manages trained volunteers, interns, and translators to make the app as comprehensive and updated as possible, while also helping with training and partnerships. InReach is the world's first tech platform matching LGBTQ plus people facing persecution or discrimination with safe, independently verified resources. Welcome, Abby.
Hi, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, so hopefully this works. And as Erin said, my name is Abby, and I will be presenting on behalf of InReach. So just a little quick agenda. First, I'll give an intro, then do a quick app demo, and then let you all know ways that you can get involved. So InReach is a trans-led tech nonprofit increasing resource access for the diverse LGBTQ plus community. So we began as Asylum Connect in 2016, and I actually presented on behalf of Asylum Connect at a TechSoup conference, I think in 2019 or 2020, something like that. But last year we rebranded as InReach, and the reasoning for that is as Asylum Connect, our demographic was mostly LGBTQ plus asylum seekers, but we realized through that experience that a lot of our users were actually not asylum seekers, and represented a range of immigration statuses within the US, so encompassing asylum seekers, refugees, immigrants, as well as US citizens. So we didn't think that our name necessarily matched our mission. So we rebranded as InReach last year. We now strive to be intersectional along those lines. So we believe that LGBTQ plus equality requires trans justice, refugee justice, racial justice, reproductive justice, language justice, disability justice, and more. And then, as Erin said, we are the world's first tech platform matching LGBTQ plus people facing persecution or discrimination with safe, independently verified resources, which spans mental health, medical, legal, social services, translation, transportation, and any services that folks might require. So the reasoning behind our founding is that marginalized LGBTQ plus people lack access to safe resources in the United States, and then as well as in Mexico, Canada, and US territories, which is where our app is currently available. I'm not going to play all of these videos because unfortunately we don't have time, but when this is sent out, you all are able to view some user stories. But I will share our impact to date, along with some demographic profiles so that you all can see a large range of folks use the InReach app. So spanning different countries of origin, different races and ethnicities, different identities, as well as different ages. So we do list services that are focused on specific communities. So for folks who span different identities, they're able to find resources that specialize in a range of identities, whether that's TGNC folks, LGBTQ plus youth, Spanish speakers, BIPOC people, people of different documentation statuses. I will play you all Sarah's story just so we can see one example of somebody who uses the InReach app.
Hey, Abby, it looks like we don't have audio. I think maybe if we stop your share and then reshare with sound.
Am I able to do that, or should I can also just skip.
I think, well, if you stop your share and then reshare, just there's a share sound button. I don't know if it was clicked when you shared. You have to stop your share though to do that.
Okay.
But we have time, and I think we're all excited to see this video.
Okay, can you hear it now?
No.
Yes.
undocumented person.
Now we got it.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna restart it. Sorry about that.
This is Sarah. Sarah's a trans woman who fled her home country of Nigeria to escape the death threats she received because of her gender identity. While her safety is in jeopardy, she's unaware of how she can remain in the United States or of any asylum protections that she may have. That is, until a friend told her to download the app InReach. With the help of InReach, Sarah is able to locate a pro bono attorney. She also uses the app to easily find a free support group for trans women of color. As an undocumented person, Sarah appreciates the ability to filter out providers that require specific documentation. Sarah trusts InReach will be with her every step of the way. To read more stories like Sarah's or to find out more information, visit www.inreach.org.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad we were able to share. Sorry about that. So that was just to give you all an idea of somebody who would use the InReach app. And as we can see here, our product has grown significantly since being founded in 2016. And then this past year, we had over 200,000 user sessions. I'm not going to play this again in the interest of time and hopefully to avoid any more audio issues. But as I had mentioned, we were originally Asylum Connect focused on LGBTQ plus asylum seekers here in the US. We have since expanded to Mexico, Canada, and US territories, and we are in all 50 US states. But in the last year, I think we are all aware that there has been a lot of political attacks on the trans community. So we have also this year focused a lot on adding resources for trans folks in the US who might be seeking resources in more safe and affirming states or communities, as well as maybe finding remote services for folks who live in states or communities that are not trans affirming. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. So now I'm going to share a demo. This does not have sound, so if you can't hear it, you're not supposed to be able to. This is showing a prototype of our new app redesign, which we just launched. So it does show dummy data on this video, but I will try to talk us through it. So we are available on mobile as well as on our resource website. And so this is the mobile version. So when you do download the InReach app, which is available on the App Store as well as Google Play, you'll be able to find here the different types of services that we offer. So as I said, we span everything from legal services, medical, mental health, social services, transportation, translation and interpretation, spiritual services, community services. You start by entering a state, city, or zip code. And then you can also, as you see here, we show the different LGBTQ plus communities that we offer, that we provide services for. And then as you scroll down, so for example, we had entered Washington, D.C. here. We see a list of the different resources that are available on the InReach app, and you can focus on different LGBTQ plus communities. So the BIPOC community, folks living with HIV, immigrants, Spanish speakers, trans community, and LGBTQ plus youth. We are constantly expanding into new communities, but when we launched our redesign very recently, these are the first communities that we focused on, but we are definitely interested in expanding to many more intersectional identities. Then we can see here all the different filters for different services that we list on the InReach app, and then also under each service category, there are also subcategories. So for example, under legal, we have asylum applications, citizenship, DACA, etc. And then each organization page also has their own service pages where you can see their contact information. So their phone number, their website, their address, their email, their social media platforms, accessibility requirements, and the easiest way to access services in each organization. We also list reviews. So you're able to create a user account and then leave a review on any services that you might be familiar with. So folks know which organizations might serve them best. There are photos of the location, and then here you can see the reviews. So it is completely free and you are able to access without creating an account. However, if you do create an account, you're able to have access to different things, such as saving a list of different organizations that you're able to print or share either as a service provider, so with your client, or as an individual in order to access those services. And I believe we are running out of time, so I'm just going to click through really quick here. If you're interested in our tech stack, I will skip over this, but this is just our new UX design. And then ways to support and help us out. Of course, downloading our app, sharing it, and then also suggesting LGBTQ+ affirm organizations in your local area or any organizations that you're aware of that you do not see listed on the InReach app, and to follow us on social media.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abby. And yes, all of those slides will be sent out in addition to a recording, so we can slow down on some of the slides that we didn't get to hear enough about, or watch some of the videos that we didn't get to see. Thank you to all of our brilliant speakers. A reminder that we'll be sharing the replay, slides, and any links in an email in a couple days. So we're going to head now to Q&A, and you can use the Q&A tab in your Zoom bar to ask our panelists questions. I'm going to actually start with a question for, well, before I do that, let me just let folks know that we have a couple additions to our panel for the question and answer section. So Dina Patrice is going to be answering questions for SameSame, and then we also have Joe Caro. I don't know if I've actually said your name correctly because we haven't met before, but welcome, Joe, and he'll be helping Abby out with questions. But first, I have a question about StoryLLP. This is from Susan. Is StoryLLP available to regular LGBTQ+ people who are not founders?
So yes, it is, but I don't have a ton of the automated functionality built out yet for individual legal needs because, for example, if you need a marriage, divorce, help with child support, a will, all of that is very state-specific law, and you need a lawyer in that state. Because I've developed my attorney alliance based on what historically underrepresented startup founders need most, I haven't necessarily focused on those areas, but what I'll say is, like, please reach out. If there's something that you need, I may be able to give you some free information that's helpful. So please just drop a line through the website. Don't hesitate if you're an individual. If I can cover you, I will. If I can't, we can even talk about recruiting somebody to help you. So thanks for the question.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Wonderful. And then I have a question for SameSame. So what are the biggest challenges when building a chatbot in WhatsApp?
So I am not the tech person. I hope I'm coming through okay.
Yeah, we can hear you great, Dina.
Froze there for a second. Okay, good. So I'm not the tech person, I'm the mental health person. So just keep that in mind when I answer these questions. But you know, I think one of the biggest challenges that I've seen is the functionality. You know, chatbots kind of in their very nature are designed to be more simplified. And so, you know, it isn't as visually stimulating to navigate as it would be like through an app. But that's sort of intentional with the populations that we work with, because a lot of the places where we're looking to implement a very heavy app sort of interface that would use a lot of data and require a more advanced smartphone would not be the right approach. So I think, you know, the average user in the US, for example, might go through the bot and be like, well, this seems like a little bit simplified, or like, I wish it was more visually stimulating. But for us, that's really intentional. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I hope.
That does. I think that's a good view into kind of some of the things that you're needing to negotiate. Great. So Kate, I'm going to follow this with a question for you. So you talked a little bit about how you're a security badass. And so I want to ask you a question about how does security work on the app?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a number of tricks that we do keep concealed because that's kind of part of the security apparatus. But it has been tested. We were targeted by a Russian state-sponsored hacking campaign a few years back when news broke that Chelsea Clinton was one of our investors. We defended, so I'm very, very proud of that. But you know, when we think about like what that on-device security looks like, there's kind of two things we can really scrutinize. One is just, you know, the simple like mechanics of the app. Like Bliss will log you out frequently. She's always very happy to welcome you back in, but she'll just kind of constantly shut that door. The second thing is that you can bind software to an IMEI, which creates kind of your most hardened layer of security to avoid remote logins. And then we can kind of start thinking about other emerging technologies, kind of in the decentralized space, to be able to tokenize PPI and still have it in an accessible way that is called by the user and verifiable, but in such a way that that data doesn't remain floating out there. And so those are kind of the big three silos we think through. You know, how do we handle PPI? What are those on-device securities? And how do we really fortify an app using kind of the strongest technologies available? Because, you know, as we all know in security, it's an arms race. And so we're just always trying to keep in front of these malicious actors and create as much friction as we can to deter them from trying to dig deeper. And thus far, 4 years in, we've never had a data breach. And if y'all want to test it, come at us.
I love that, Kate. Definitely. Like, I think that's really exciting. I just wanted to call out that, you know, Jessica just put in the props to Kate for being the woman who looks out for survivors' security. And, you know, we've seen a lot of some really great, you know, camaraderie among the panelists and also from the folks who are attending the webinar. So, you know, if you have another kudos to add to the pile, pop that in the chat. And again, if folks have questions, go ahead and pop that into the Q&A. And I'm going to read something from Sarah, who is curious about transportation resources offered through InReach. So this is a question for Joe and Abby. Are the resources vetted, and how are they vetted?
Yeah, I can take this one. So we train a very large group of volunteers and interns, and we operate a vetting questionnaire, if you will. So every single organization and resource listed on the InReach app is contacted by either a staff member, an intern, or a volunteer to make sure that they're LGBTQ plus affirming, and then just to ask them a variety of questions to make their profile page comprehensive. So everything from the best way to contact them to pricing, all of that kind of stuff. And through our questionnaire, we have come up together as staff with questions to make sure that an organization is LGBTQ plus affirming. There are lots of questions, so I won't bore you with all of them, but everything from the percentage of their clients that identifies LGBTQ plus, different trainings that staff at those organizations are required to undergo, discrimination policies, staff members themselves who identify as LGBTQ plus, things like that. So every single organization is independently vetted by trained volunteers, interns, and staff.
Wonderful. I love that. Great. So let's move now to a question about StoryLLP, which is, how has your work in nonprofits helped assist people with StoryLLP?
So actually, I mean, what nonprofits need from a legal perspective is about 80 to 90% the same as what for-profits need. The biggest differences are in tax and corporate governance, and even those differences are relatively small. So for example, you know, you see a lot more nonprofits incorporated locally in the state where they first started operating, whereas most for-profits are in Delaware, but they both have to follow the corporate legal regime of the state where they operate. Story's product focused heavily early on making sure that employees contribute IP and are properly classified as employees, as well as kind of preventing some other common employment mistakes and corporate governance mistakes. And those are the same kind of mistakes made by nonprofit founders as for-profit founders, especially when you're first-time founder. So employment is probably the place where it does the most good for nonprofit organizations, but we've helped a nonprofit, rainforest preservation nonprofit, with work on forming foreign entities. We've helped, we actually do direct service pro bono work for organization Survivor Alliance, which is a survivor leadership organization based out of the UK. So I won't take the panel's time with too much, but just know that as a nonprofit, you can often get away with more because nobody's trying to enforce the law against you in most things other than employment. And that's the place where I would just suggest, especially if you are, for example, doing the reimbursement method for your unemployment insurance, and you're not paying that insurance directly, just making sure that your hiring and firing compliantly can save you a lot of pain. So that's the place where I'd recommend you start as a nonprofit. Thanks for the question.
Love that, Jessica. Thank you for that. Those just demonstrations of impact. I think it's really great to hear. So let's go back to another question for InReach. And I wanted to say, Joe, thank you so much for popping that link in the chat for a little bit more about the vetting process. But another question for you folks. How does InReach address language barriers?
I can take this, and then I don't know if Joe wants to add anything. So the InReach app is currently in native English and Spanish, meaning that we have translators writing all of the data in both English and Spanish. And we have recently expanded to pretty much all languages, but starting with French, Russian, and Arabic. We utilize a localization tool called Crowdin, which allows us to have both an in-house translation team as well as to recruit external crowdsourced translators. So we are very focused on language access. And as I said, we really hope to have as many languages as possible very soon. In the meantime, while that's not possible, the app is also available in Google Translate.
Yep. And just to also add on to that, with prior to using Crowdin with our prior version of the app, all of the languages besides English and Spanish were just kind of run through Google Translate. So for the languages where we don't have people actively translating yet, we still kind of have that same quality where the languages run through machine translation. But we also have the ability for people to start kind of just going and correcting some of those machine translations. So at best, we won't be any worse than Google Translate.
Awesome. And I want to also call attention to another comment in the chat, back to the vetting question that Susan is mentioning, that if you all need help vetting nonprofits, that's something that at TechSoup we do as a service. And you can reach out to Susan directly at stemby@techsoup.org. The email is there in the chat. Great. So I'm not seeing any open questions. So that means if you want to ask a question right now, it'll probably get answered right away.
Jump on in, the water's fine.
Well, I'd love to ask a question about SameSame. Dina, do you have any similar kind of impact stories or anything that might help us sort of see what kind of a difference the chatbot has been making in South Africa?
Sure. So, one of the things I'm gonna speak about Uganda instead. But one of the things that's really not sort of widely known is that in countries where it's illegal to be gay, oftentimes it's also complicated or difficult for therapists to provide any kind of care to the queer community. In Uganda, for example, if you are a therapist who is caught providing therapy to a queer person, you can be prosecuted and sent to jail because it's seen as you promoting queer activity in the community. And so what that means is it really makes it difficult for users to get any kind of support, even non-affirming support in actuality. It just causes a lot of complication for any person who wants to provide services in any way, not just therapy, to the queer community. So we've really seen by word of mouth, our bot get shared with people, not just in South Africa, across international borders, just like people like King, who is from Uganda, but is now living in South Africa as a refugee, sending that bot information back to his friends in Uganda who are really struggling right now. And one of the real beautiful pieces of feedback that I've seen is some of our user stories are recorded with audio, and the idea that you can hear somebody talk about their experience with being gay in their community in your local language, in your local accent, with real life situations and challenges that those individuals are navigating. And that's just not something that exists on the internet right now. On the internet, a lot of the stuff that you hear is really Western centric. It's often in English. And so it's really powerful for people to be able to hear others that sound like them and that have their local contacts tell their personal stories. So that's really the kinds of feedback that we're getting. And then to build a little bit on the question that came through earlier, one of the reasons that we're really passionate about using a service like WhatsApp is when I was living in Uganda, providing mental health care, the Ugandan government would shut down apps like Tinder or Grindr. And so it was very strategic for us to work through a group like WhatsApp, because the Ugandan government will never shut down WhatsApp. It's used too widely. It's used by too many other, businesses and other just general users. And so that adds a layer of protection for us as well, to make sure that it isn't, that a hostile government can't come through and just decide to completely shut us down and make us not available to the users that need us.
Thank you, Dina, so much. So we have, Joe has dropped a link in the chat, not directly related to our presentation, but a link to read stories from others about trans joy, which I think sounds really cool. I'm going to click on that link soon. And we have just maybe one more question. Shanti has a question. How much marketing is going on versus word of mouth? Just have a minute or two of somebody. I don't think that's directed at any specific. Kate, looks like you're inspired to answer a little bit about how marketing might work for you.
Yeah. So it's been really interesting for us. So we launched our first app at the end of 2019 on a hope and a prayer without a penny left in the bank, because we chanced it all in development. And within a week, we had about 3,000 users. So we knew we were on to something. And so we've just continued to grow very organically. We've never paid for marketing. And what's interesting is that we're even seeing our software bootlegged because there's a region lock on it to other, markets that we're not available in yet. And, even really curious and surprising things has happened, because we added in the territories, to kind of use as playgrounds for testing new features. But it turns out that there's a lot of human beings there. And so then we had to quickly kind of resource up and scaffold up to figure out how is it that you legally change your name in America Samoa. Turns out you have to interact with the chiefdom. It's a super fascinating process. I think we're kind of the first to help figure that out. But it's kind of through that relentless, march of innovation that I think has helped make us grow. Because at the end of it all, you want to create technologies that people are compelled to share. And in my humble assessment, everyone on this panel has done that. So, just my hat's off to all of y'all. Y'all are building incredible things. And it's just been a pleasure to be with y'all and everyone in the audience today. So thank you for the time. And thank you, TechSoup. Thank you for being a force of good in this world.
Wonderful. And thanks, Kate, so much for your participation. Really amazing to hear that. And great. So let's maybe move on to the next slide. And I would love to invite for everybody to share with us in chat one thing that you learned today. So just anything that you learned today, go ahead and just throw it into the chat alongside all the fuzzy emojis that we're already seeing. Great. And I'll read from Kate. Kate says that there are so many good folk in the world to make a difference. Great. Anybody else? That Kate can thwart Russian hackers. Totally. That is a superpower. And I think that's one that might be popular elsewhere. That's illegal to be gay, not just challenging, and that this work saves lives. Absolutely, Susan. Yeah. Shanti, everyone needs legal friends. Yeah. And, a lot of resonance there, Susan, with what you're saying. This is important for us to remember, particularly, myself, I'm in San Francisco, where, what it means to be proud is to really just walk outside of your house this last weekend. And that's not the case in a lot of places, and it's unsafe. Awesome. Sophia, lots of resources are available. And if you don't ask, you don't know. Great. And Tiana says there are additional resources available for the population that Tiana serves, which is largely QTBI POC. Great. Okay, and let's maybe move to the next slide. So we love your participation. And if you like what you saw today and you want to support future demo events and reach nonprofits that are curious about technology, consider becoming a sponsor for a future event. These are really, great events to really reach people. The last thing before I skipped in my script. Next thing, I contact Susan Tenby for more information about this. So that's her email right there. And again, we're going to send out this deck, so you don't need to remember Susan's email. But thank you all for attending, especially the behind the scene producers and staff at TechSoup who made this event possible. So we really much appreciate the work that you've done to get this webinar out. And last thing before we say goodbye, please sure to complete our post-event survey that helps us be better. And you'll find it in the chat, and it's also going to pop up automatically when you close Zoom. And again, we'll be sharing the replay from today's event, as well as slides and any links within a couple days. Thanks again for joining us. Great, and we see some really great continued comments in the chat. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks to our presenters.